Getting sunflowers to soak evenly requires that they all be kept underwater. As you can see, they float, so we use a lid to keep them underwater. You can use a regular mason jar lid, it doesn't matter, and we're soaking for 6 to 8 hours at this point. It's just my current favorite time. 12's fine, 4 will generally work too. But yes, you have to keep all of the sunflowers submerged for the length of their soak so that they can germinate evenly. Now it's just a matter of rinsing and draining. We'll empty the soak water and then rinse and drain. You don't need to do an awful lot, and you want to drain thoroughly, but you don't have to worry too much about it with sunflowers. They're big seeds and they're not going to drown if you do just, 10 taps or so on the screen. The size of the screen you use makes no difference. I chose to plant now because there are enough seeds with the tiniest of tails, the tiniest of roots, that it'll help them bury their roots down. If you plant them when they're longer, they just get more topsy-turvy and the roots grow up. I mean, that'll still happen in this case too, to some degree, but just do all we can to give them the best start. Due to poor focus, I needed to reshoot my planting segment. So the crop is going to look, the seeds I'm planting are going to look slightly different. They're a bit more sprouted than the seeds in the original crop, which you will see the original crop from this point forward. So the next shot you're gonna go, wow, they unsprouted, and that's not true. So I'm sorry. I really am. I just could not show it to you with such soft focus. It's an important part, planting. So I'm going to first show you mixing up the medium. I often just mix my medium right in the trays I'm growing in, but for this I will show you a proper mixing of the medium. 75% coconut coir and 25% earthworm castings is my medium of choice. So let's prepare that now. Worm castings. Pour one. A little bit with another third of a cup of worm castings or so. This is not rocket science. You don't have to be overly precise. Approximately 25%. And here's a little bit earlier. I'm mixing this up. I'd say this is about 3 cups for the small stainless steel sprouter, which is what I'm using largely for space considerations. You can grow in a larger stainless steel sprouter, you would just add more medium. And we want it high on the lip. We want it because we're applying weight to it, so we need it to, the weight to sit on top of the seeds. Using about 2 cups. Go a little bit more. I like it deep. Now to finish moistening the medium, I like warm water. The coir takes up more readily the warm water, so it hardly matters. Moistening that, it came down quite a bit, so I'm going to add some more. Notice too how well the water just flows through, not pooling in the growing tray, but passing directly through. That's what we want. Pooling to some degree, but it's passing. There. Just let that drain a little extra.
Oh,
Okay.
I used smaller jars this time. Honestly, you can use smaller jars if you have them. There's no reason to use a quart jar if you have a pint jar. They don't need that much room. So that's a little more confusion. I apologize. This is very easy. You just mix up the medium after sprouting the seeds and you put these on top and you keep them moist and they'll grow. Don't be scared. You're going to do great. And just wait until you see how well this weight plays out.
Now we will plant. Marked these. And once again, I used smaller jars. And you can see that the seeds are quite a bit more sprouted, but still nice and small. This is an excellent time to plant these. I'd preferred a few hours earlier, but the middle of the night is not my favorite time to plant. These are in focus again. Now it's just a matter of spreading them out relatively evenly.
Okay, we're going back to the original crop now, so you're going to see the seeds regress in sprouting. Remember, this was just reshot. In spraying the sunflowers after we plant them, it seats them a bit in the medium and hopefully gets their roots more in the right direction. So yeah, the weight is on the small stainless steel sprouter, and that's 2 pounds of lentils, and the plate is touching, I believe. I would need to do some fine measurement to be sure, but I think I planted high enough that it's actually touching the seeds. So we will see if that pushes it up. It's like hard to imagine. Since I know what's coming, I know that there was one thing I could have done to make this a better crop, and that was to use a larger plate on top of my weighted portion. It works out just fine, as you'll see, but I would say use the same sized plate as the one underneath. It just fits in better. Live and learn. 30 years I've been doing this, and I still learn things. That's life, huh? Great. So I would use this plate on top. We do have a couple seeds on our plate, so our plate is making contact. Oops, sorry. Let's see how much more
sprouting just overnight.
So there's really nothing to do but mist them twice a day. I like if you can see that the short sprouts that we planted and the seeds that didn't sprout before we planted are really sending their roots down. It's a very nice thing to see. If you plant later, you'll see it, just the mishmash of roots, which usually works out fine, but I guess it takes some time for the crop to, right itself, so it may not be the perfect thing, but it usually works out just fine. And if you're not selling at market or something where people are going to be, looking for perfection. But this is working well, and it's just a slow process at first. It really moves faster all of a sudden. But there you go. We'll see them in 12 hours.
This feels like a lot of weight. We shall see. that's quite a bit of growth. They're really starting to push up. I don't know if you see that, but they're looking really good. And the plate is slightly elevated. It's really blows me away every time. I still don't believe that they can lift up 2 pounds plus the plate, but I've seen it and that's what we're doing. So anyway, let's take a closer look. The shells will be coming up. That's the cotyledons, the first leaves are in the shell. Look, Ira's here. Yeah, what a good boy. What a good boy. You're so good. You're such a sweet guy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Who's the sweetest? You can see the plate pushing them up. I mean, it's quite impressive, isn't it? And some of them are escaping out the side, but that'll happen. So we'll leave the plate on and see in 12 hours what we want to do. Leave it on or take it off. All right, look at that. I'm switching to kelp water now. So I've put a teaspoon of kelp into my sprayer and mixed it with water. Half a teaspoon is fine, but I do a teaspoon. It's
more than they call for. And I'm going to leave them covered. I want the inverted black tray on the unweighted greens to push themselves up, to push the lid up. And then I'm just going to keep pushing on the other ones another day, I guess, because it's morning now, so I would be uncovering would that I were feeling inclined to uncover, but I think it needs another day. Well, it's a little pushy, but we'll see in 12 hours how they're looking. Pushed up more here. I'm not going to do anything. All right, it's definitely time to uncover. It's incredible. I mean, the plate is pushing up so much. It is higher on this side. These have grown out more, but still, this is an amazing thing to see. So let's discuss briefly giving them light. If you have sunlight, you can put them in direct sunlight. There's nothing better. Of course, if it's freezing where you are and your windowsills are really cold, that probably isn't a great idea. Anyway, here in San Francisco, we generally live in the 40s and 50s in the winter, and though the house is in the 60s, things can go a little slowly and there's not a whole lot of light. So I have been the last couple years playing around with cheap lights. We're not going to sell them because they're a misery to pack, and shipping them would just nullify any profit we could make on them. So I'm very sorry to tell you, you can go to Amazon. Do not buy your seeds at Amazon. Just don't do that. Their warehouses are not controlled in any way, and just don't do that. But the lighting that I've been using is basically cheap lighting from China. I've had things over the years. People have sent us things that we've hung from cabinets, and that's all inconvenient. So now I'm using these lights that just clip on or have a little tripod. Currently I'm using a pretty low light source with a tripod, so let me show you that. This is like a $35 thing, so it's not like a lot of light. Anyway, that's what we're using for light. You don't have to use light, you really don't, but it doesn't hurt. So if you want to, go for it. And all our instructions say you don't have to, because we didn't for years. When we were professional growers, we did. Everything was under lights. I mean, that was just, we had to produce really consistent crops for everybody. So it was different. These are just homegrown crops. It's not required. And frankly, it takes up a lot of room in my kitchen and messes things up. This area is the microgreens and grass area. It's also my seed storage and sprouting supply storage, that old washing machine. And then over here this is the sprout corner, and that'll get, like a dozen sprouters in it sometimes. And the kitchen's just not big, it's just, so making kombucha coming up. Anyway, that's what we've got. So let's look at our crop. Look at this. Thank you, lentils. Over here for now. All right, it really came up on that side.
So that's not the even I was talking about. They should all be the same height. Okay. 'Tis what it is. So, hardly different, really. We have low here, high here, high here, low here. So there's adequate water underneath. We'll just see in 12 hours. I'll see if there's any water left under there, and I'll pour it off if that's the case. But now it's a matter of just watering the medium. You can still foliar feed the greens, doesn't matter. I just generally water the medium at this point. So yeah, that's it. We'll see them in 12 hours and we'll see how much they've changed. Drain cup bulk water. Some left. Pour this in here. Get this one some more. See if it takes that up by morning. Much more even on the weighted. Except for those that pushed out first. The hulls are coming off nicely. And our unweighted crop is nice but erratic. You can see there's seeds that have grown only halfway up. That's true in here too. Even though we weighted, there's still some that are just lagging behind. That's just the nature of seeds. They vary crop to crop, year to year, and field to field. So they do different things, and we just learn how to deal with them as best we can. So we're learning that weight helps in this case, and that's pretty cool. You know, the funny thing about that is I never wrote that on our website, and it was something I just forgot, despite the fact that I grew hundreds, if not thousands, of trays of microgreens and grass in our 10 years as professional growers. I guess it would have to be in the thousands, but we were short on space, so I had to stack the trays on top of each other until they were ready to separate. So I was putting a lot of weight on the bottom trays because they'd be stacked like 4 to 6 high. So the weight on the bottom was just incredibly intense. But I spread them out as they started to grow, and they grew really evenly. And I just somehow forgot all about that, which is pretty weird. So I'm glad somebody wrote to me and reminded me about weight, and it kind of jarred my memory, and I'm finally getting around to doing it. I've been meaning to put it on the website. I've put it in the newsletter, but now it's here for everybody to see. We'll be back in 12 hours. Oh, there's a tiny bit left there. Adding maybe a tablespoon or 2 tops. This is plenty of overflow. That's fine. A lot of growth. 4 inches plus. 5 inches plus. And crank up their water. I'm cooking, sorry for the sound. That's 12 hours later, and they're soaking up water so fast that we're gonna leave that amount there because they soaked up what they soaked up this morning. So we'll turn the lights off in a couple hours, but this is literally 12 hours since I saw you last. So there you go. We'll let them be for a couple hours, turn the lights off, and we'll see how much they soak up for morning. Five inches. Over 5 inches. We just cut these. That's a true leaf right there. Don't really want that. I've decided it's time to cut our sunflower greens. The sign of a true leaf is definitely an indication of that. So I went to the garden for a few hours after this morning's watering, and now I'm back. So it is actually 6 hours since I saw you last, and we're going to cut our crop. So first I'm going to show you a couple things that you can do. One is brushing the hulls a little bit to release some of them. Those are the only thing wrong with this crop, are the hulls that don't let go. So we give them a hand, as you will see. Let me show you. So we got a pretty nice crop from our unweighted tray, but frankly it's nothing to compare with the weighted one. So you have to pick any hulls that are still on off, but it's generally worth the, well, you could dispose of those also, but it's generally worth the time. They're absolutely delicious, and they store incredibly well, though eating them fresher is better. So let's move on to our other tray and harvest those. I will brush the greens a little bit, and then I'm going to weigh them. We started with less than 50 grams of seed, more like 42, but let's just say 50 for the ease of seeing how well we do with this crop. So I'm going to brush as many hulls as I can off, and then I'm going to cut them off into our bowl. First, let's check the height. Our medium's down a little, so let's see where we're at. We're basically here, so 5 inches. There are quite a few that are more than that, but we'll say 5 inches. And just brush. Pull. So few hulls, just right here. That's funny. That's the edge that was up first. I'm not quite sure how that managed to happen. Anyway, okay. Now, I want to be close to the medium, but since there are smaller ones growing in here, we don't have to be right on the medium. Okay. Oh no. I'm going to compost this and clear the way. My scale went off, so I have to re-tear the weight and do this over. So let's make it tidy for it. The weigh in. Just gonna transfer these over here. Put this on. Oh, look, there's a couple seeds in there. A couple hulls. Zero that out, and we'll put our crop back in. Excuse me. We have been grazing on these as the week has gone on. 215 grams. So over 4 to 1. More like 5 to 1, I would say, but I didn't weigh them originally. So I don't ever like to assume anything. So the only thing left to do is store our crop. We'll eat most of them tonight, but we also need to wash our sprouter. So let me show you. We use, generally speaking, Peak Fresh bags, which we sell. They just keep produce longer. I actually had a test of sunflower greens I grew, and I'm not telling you should do this, but they were in my refrigerator eight weeks later, and they were fantastic. I don't remember that being the case, but I guess I've never let them sit that long. This bag got lost. It was a test, but I wasn't expecting that. Here's our the first thing we harvested, our unweighted. Let's put these in here. Oops. I will take the seed hulls off of them when we're using them. Those taste great. They really do. And it's written, but not on video. A soil-like medium grows tastier greens. I don't know if it's the nutrients in it or that they get to grow their roots longer, but we've done everything from growing sunflower greens with nothing, just letting their roots become a medium, soilless mediums like our hemp felt. To me, there's no comparison. I'd grow on a deep medium and grew everything we ever grew professionally on a deep medium. So go with the coir and earthworm castings for the tastiest crop. That's what I gotta say. And the last thing to know before we clean our sprouter is in using the Peak Fresh bag, you want to get the air out of it if you can. This one's been reused several times, and I mean, they go as long as you can keep them going. Gentle with the crop, get some air out. And they can go in the fridge. I keep a dull knife just for this, to take the roots off the bottom. We do that when we're harvesting leafy sprouts, but in this case it'll just free up the medium. so it just drops out. And my compost has some delightful stuff. Oh, let's just look at that. We did have roots coming out the bottom. We just cut those off, but then you can see all the root growth in here. They're everywhere. And now it's just soap and water. It's already mostly clean. Plant bits that might be caught in there. There we go, ready for another crop. In my opinion, it's clean enough for any crop. We often use like that small stainless just for microgreens, but on occasion I'll use it for sprouts. I just generally grow sprouts in the bigger stainless steel sprouter, but the point is I will use them for both. It's clean, it's fine, and it's just soap and water. You don't have to worry. Our seeds are clean, they're safe, they carry no pathogens, and as long as you use common sense, like not handling raw meat and then handling your sprouts, you're gonna be fine. There's just nothing to worry about. At least we haven't worried for 30 years. We raised our kids eating sprouts. We fed them to our animals. Nobody's ever become ill from what we've grown from our seeds. So there's hype everywhere and fear, God knows. But you don't have to fear anything except fear. So I hope you enjoyed growing sunflower greens and that was helpful. And we'll see if I don't have more to add later. I hope the voiceover sections worked. I haven't done that in a long time. I'm trying to avoid these long, drawn-out gill rambling scenes that you can't seem to avoid with me. But anyway, that's our video for today, and I hope you have a great time growing your own sunflower greens. Happy growing!